The reading program being discussed is Michael Heggerty's phonemic awareness, the skills that they need to help them succeed. It is commonly referred to as simply Heggerty. The version that I will be referencing is the pre-kindergarten version of this text. The publisher is Literacy Resources Incorporated, and the publication year is 2016. Before I begin talking about the program, I wanted to briefly touch on 4 to 5 characteristics about how the brain learns to read. I'll do this by citing some information from our class text, which is How the Brain Learns, written by David A. Sousa. When learning to read, the brain goes through 3 cerebral processes. The first is visual processing. During this process, our eyes scan the letters of the words and our brain sends signals to the visual cortex. The second process, auditory processing, occurs when the information from the visual processing step is decoded in the language parts of our brains. The last process occurs when the decoded information is sent to the language sections of the temporal lobe and then to the frontal lobe, where the brain tries to make meaning from the letters and words. If any part of this process is difficult for the reader, the brain will revisit the processes to once more try to make sense of the information. There are several skills involved with learning how to read as well. These skills are phonological and phonemic awareness, alphabetic principle and phonics, vocabulary, fluency, and text comprehension. Lastly, the brain learns how to read in stages, which are the pictorial stage, which is when the child's brain photographs words and visually adjusts to the shape of the alphabet's letters. The second is the phonological stage. In this stage, the brain begins to decode the letters into sounds. And then finally, the orthographic stage. This is when the student is able to recognize words quickly and accurately. Using Heggerty's reading program, students are able to visually and auditorily process letters, letter sounds, words, and common nursery rhymes. Introduction of the reading program occurs as a 8 to 12 minute lesson before or after read-alouds or other literacy instruction times. As they vocalize phonological concepts, the teacher and students perform physical movements of the hands, arms, and body that support natural movement of reading, which is from left to right. Educators are encouraged to come up with rhythmic movements and sayings before and during the instruction. For instance, I currently use this program with my pre-kindergarten students and came up with the karate chop, everyone get your karate chop, to encourage children to participate in onset fluency, which is identifying the first sound in a word. An example would be down, down. I would chop on the right and swipe to the left to show the students a mirrored image of the directionality of reading, which is again left to right. Educators are encouraged to also use visuals of the letters during letter naming. For example, for the letter Q, I would have a handheld poster of the uppercase and lowercase q, as well as a picture of a queen. It would sound like this: Q, qua, queen. I would do this in a rhythmic way to make it more engaging for the students. Other concepts taught are rhyme recognition, blending phonemes, identifying final and medial sounds, segmenting, adding, deleting, and substituting phonemes, and finally, language awareness. During language awareness, common nursery rhymes are taught line by line each day. What's great about Heggerty is that educators are able to use visuals, auditory techniques, and movement activities to teach reading skills, all of which scientifically support best practices when teaching a child how to read or learn other concepts. In addition, several versions of the text were created for each grade level so that it can follow the natural progression of how children learn. This supports the fact that the brain learns how to read in stages, which I previously mentioned. Michael Heggerty cited a quote about the brain in his program that I wanted to end this audio on. He quotes, "There really is a difference in brain activation patterns between good and poor readers," end quote. If we are to help students become good readers, it would be extremely beneficial for educators to immerse them in language and give them more engaging practice with phonemic awareness. Thank you so much for listening.